Hello and welcome to my shop. Today we're looking at the scroll saw. This is a basic beginner video, so if you're brand new or you're looking to get a scroll saw, you've come to the right place. The blade. This is your cutting edge. Toe pick. Scroll saw blades come in different types and sizes depending on the materials that you're going to cut and the thickness of them. So we have the table. This is a flat surface that supports your workpiece, and they usually tilt for angle cuts. This one will tilt to the left 45 degrees and tilt to the right 30. The Craftsman will tilt 45 degrees to the left. The tensioning knob or system. This adjusts the blade's tension, a key factor for smooth cuts. So as far as the tension goes, on this one, on the Bauer, we have a cam on the top. So you put the blade in, you tighten it, and then you push this knob down to tighten that clamp. Now you can hear me plucking it. So it has tension. The Craftsman does not have a tensioning lever. It does have a tensioning knob in the back. So you put the blade in and then you tension it with the red knob on the back. The Bauer also has a knob on the back, so you can fine tune how much tension you want on the blade. Now the hold down foot. This helps keep your wood from bouncing up and down when you're cutting, and it also helps keep your fingers away from the blade. So this is the hold down foot on this one. The Craftsman, I don't know where it is. Most people find that they get in the way more than anything else, and they remove them. That being said, if your saw has one, feel free to use it and make your decision to take it off or not when you feel a little bit more comfortable with your machine. Speed controls. Many scroll saws let you adjust the speed to suit the need for different materials or thicknesses. The Craftsman, right here, is the speed control. So if I turn it on, that's the slowest, and that's the fastest. I usually cut right around that speed there. Now the Bauer has a speed control right on top. So that's the slowest. And that's the fastest. I tend to cut right about between 6 and 7 on the dial. Blowers. Most saws have a blower that moves away sawdust, so you can see where you're cutting, so you can see your lines. So these have a small bellow on the inside. When the arm goes up and down, it hits that bellow, and then just sends out a little tough. Safety first. Safety is a top priority when you're using any power tool. And here's some basic precautions you should follow. Wear safety glasses. Always protect your eyes from dust and debris. Avoid loose clothing or jewelry. Now, the scroll saw isn't going to pull you into the machine like, let's say, a bandsaw or a table saw or even a lathe, but it's a good practice nevertheless. Dust masks. Dust masks are essential to protect your lungs from fine sawdust, which can accumulate while scroll sawing, especially during long sessions or when you're working with certain woods. I have an issue with some rosewoods where I have to wear a mask, otherwise I have an allergic reaction. So, also, read the manual that came with your saw. I mean, it'll give you specific safety and setup instructions. Don't skip it. Now, scroll saws tend to cause band-aid cuts. I've never had to get stitches in my 38 years of scroll sawing. You can't accidentally cut off your finger, unlike most tools in the workshop that have the word saw in them. Section 3, choosing the right blade. I personally like to keep my blades in test tubes with tops on. Keeps the dust out. It allows me to label them and keep them organized so I can find them. This might be a little excessive, don't get me wrong, but I can find what I'm looking for. One of the most important decisions you can make is choosing the right blade. And there's a lot of things to consider. Depending on your saw, it'll either use a pin blade, a pinless blade, or both. Out of curiosity, what saw are you going to be using and which blade does it take? Feel free to leave me a comment below and I'll definitely check them out. All right, so pin blades have a small pin at either end, which makes them easy to install, and they're great for thicker materials. However, it can limit your internal cuts because you need to drill a big enough hole for the pin to go through as well as the blade. Pin blades are also larger because during the manufacture they have to install a pin in them, where pinless blades are just clamped into place and allow for finer detail work and tighter cuts. Pinless blades are also two different types. There's flat blades and spiral blades. Flat blades require you to turn the wood as you cut, making it ideal for precise, straight cuts and sharp angles. Spiral blades, on the other hand, can cut in any direction without rotating the workpiece, which is great for large or intricate patterns, but they tend to produce a rougher edge. Tooth count. Higher tooth count blades are great for smooth cuts in thin materials, while lower tooth count blades handle thicker wood better. There's a lot of different styles of blades. There's a standard tooth blade, which features evenly spaced teeth, which is great for general purpose cutting in wood. Skip tooth blades have every other tooth missing, which provides a smoother cut and prevents overheating on delicate materials. Double tooth blades, they have a pair of teeth followed by a gap, producing a finer cut and better control on intricate designs. We were talking about spiral blades and how they will leave a rougher edge, but they are an option. Crown tooth blades, they cut in both the upstroke and the downstroke, and they have teeth that look like an uppercase M or a crown. Now, my personal blades are modified geometry blades. They're designed with advanced tooth patterns for faster cutting and smoother finishes. Now, all these blades, minus the spiral and the crown tooth, you can get with reverse teeth. So reverse tooth blades have the very bottom has teeth facing up, and the rest of the blade, the teeth are facing down. So what it does is it reduces the splintering on the bottom side of the material. If you've ever used a bandsaw, you get tear out on the bottom because the blade is just going in one direction. So with the scroll saw, it's reciprocating, so you're actually getting a nice smooth finish on the bottom. Now, scroll saw blades also come in a variety of specialty types that are suited for different tasks and materials, including jeweler blades for cutting metal, and puzzle blades, which are great for making jigsaw puzzles. Blade sizes. The smaller the number, the finer the blade. They tend to go from 1 to 12, and anything that's smaller than 1 will have, it'll look like a fraction. It'll be 2 over 0. So 2 O blades, 3 O blades. Depending on the manufacturer, you get really tiny. Now, I prefer to cut 1-inch materials with like a number 5 or a number 7 blade. 1/4-inch materials I'll drop down to a number 3 or a number 5 blade. Most manufacturers have a chart online, and they tend to have a chart on the back of the package as well, and that will help. These charts are great for a starting point, but don't feel like you're locked into the size that they recommend. All right, by understanding these options, you could choose the perfect blade for your project and achieve the best results. Make sure your blade matches the material you're cutting as well. Experiment with different size blades to find out what works best for you. Now, you can go online, and most manufacturers will have sample packs which have different size of blades or different types of blades in there. Definitely pick those up, practicing basic cuts. Before tackling complex patterns, practice basic cuts until you get a feel for your saw. Start with straight cuts. Focus on guiding the wood slowly and steadily through the blade. Curves. Follow simple drawn lines to practice maneuvering the wood. Inside cuts. Drill a pilot hole, thread the blade through, and then reattach to the saw, and then cut out your shape. Take your time and don't rush. Scroll sawing is all about precision. I have a link in the description to download a practice sheet that I made. So here's a picture of the free cutting pattern, and we will be cutting these all out in part 2. 5. Mastering patterns. Once you're comfortable, try working with the pattern, and here's how to do it. Choose a beginner-friendly design. Look for simple patterns with large shapes. Steve Good, I will have a link to his website. There is a ton of patterns, enough to keep you busy forever. If you've ever watched scroll saw videos on YouTube, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be cutting a Steve Good pattern. I like to attach my pattern using spray adhesive. Cut slowly and follow the lines and work at your own pace. Don't worry about perfection. If you go off a line, take your time getting back on the line. Otherwise, it's going to be very jagged, and you don't want that. Now, Using these simple cutout patterns, it's a great way to build your confidence and improve your skills. After cutting, you're going to want to sand the back. And depending on what blade you use, you might want to sand the edges as well. And depending on the project, you can paint it, stain it, seal it, whatever you want to add that little finishing touch. Hello, this is Video Editing Scott, and we're going to have a part 2 where we're actually going to go through this cutting sheet, and I'll demonstrate all the different cuts, including the internal cuts, external cuts, straight lines, and all that fun stuff. So that'll be coming out next year. Man, where have the time gone? Anyways, yeah, so look, there's my Pegasus. All right. And that's it. You're ready to get started with your scroll saw. Remember, practice makes perfect, so keep experimenting and have fun. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more woodworking tips. Thanks for watching, and happy sawing. I'm a dork.